you're so off base, bro. It's like, it's tragic, really.
So you think that I am inspiring the youth of today, the masculine youth of today, to become men, and you think that's a negative thing? Why?
No, I don't. I don't think you're inspiring them to become men, because like real men are in touch with their emotions and their vulnerability and don't need to be like wielding and taking power. Real men are self-aware, and you come in offering them like somebody that they can follow, where you want to be like the savior, the guy, the badass.
If you're a man who's in touch with his strength and his masculine power, why does that mean you're not capable of reflecting inwards and being self-aware? They're not mutually exclusive.
Well, apparently for you they are, though, because on the one hand you talk about how you made your first million while exploiting women on webcams.
Incorrect.
And then you post on the Instagram post about how you and your brother are going to bring purity back to women. So yeah, you absolutely lack self-awareness, because you yourself admit you made your initial money on sort of like you profited off the supposed impurity of women around sex.
All right. So first thing, the word exploiting is an incorrect use of language, because I've never exploited anyone in my life.
Well, let me ask you this. When you made your first million with the women in the webcams, how many of the women who are on those webcams earning for you, how many of them are millionaires now?
The ones who made millions are also millionaires. It was 50%. It was 50-50.
You know what I'm saying?
I would argue the point here, sir. I would argue the point here that when a girl worked for me, it was 50-50. If you work for nearly any other business in the world, you do not get 50% of the takings. If you go work at McDonald's and you ring up a register for an hour, you do not get 50% of that register. So that is a lie. Most companies pay you less than 1%. So to sit here and say that I was exploiting people is absolute fallacy. So that's the first thing.
It's like,
so that's the first fallacy. I've let you talk. Now it's my turn. That's the first fallacy. The second fallacy is this whole patriarchy bullshit you're saying that are outdated ideas of masculinity.
Yeah.
The idea of patriarchy is not an outdated idea of masculinity. Perhaps in the West, in a declining empire, as we've already discussed on this stream, in an empire which is in absolute decline, you can have men who sit here and think there's absolutely nothing necessary about masculinity in the modern world, and that you don't need to be strong or brave or any of these things. You can sit around and cry and you're still a man. That is not true in most places on the planet. In most places on the planet, men need to be capable and competent, because if they don't, they do not survive. And I'll tell you something now, sir. I'll tell you something else now. You will sit here and talk right now about the patriarchy and how you can be in touch with your feelings and all this bullshit. The second you're physically assaulted or physically threatened, the first thing you do is you call a toxically masculine police officer to turn up with a weapon to protect you, because you cannot protect yourself. You are not against the idea of masculine power. You're not against the idea of men who have masculine imperatives to defense. All you've done is outsource it to someone else to do at the end of a phone call because you're too scared to do it yourself. So you're fucking lying. You're lying.
No, that's absolutely incorrect.
You don't want to do them yourself, and you hope everyone else does them for you, so you can sit around and play fucking video games.
See, the point I posit is there's more than just physicality with men. And you talk about exploitation. You absolutely exploit people with your affiliate links. That is exploitation. Like I, as well as Bucky and Clicks, know, anybody who's an influencer knows that affiliate links are total bullshit, because basically you give an affiliate link to somebody who promotes you and he makes a little money off of it, but you're getting free advertising. That's exploitation. No influencer is going to take an affiliate link position, because it's absolute exploitation. Like you practically exist on it. Now, the idea of manhood is you can talk about like purely physical strength. Like, first off, if I get assaulted, I'm probably not going to call the police, okay? Because the police aren't actually very adept at actually solving crimes, right? They don't function very well in the actual solution of crimes. They show up later and just sort of muck up the business.
Correct.
Right?
So I agree with that. So how would you defend yourself in the effect of an assault? You just lay there and take it?
Well, so it would depend on the assault. I would probably remove myself from the situation, right?
Obviously, that's not something that's going to be applicable to the scenario we're doing here on the stream. We're not going to pretend you can run away, because that defeats the point of the question.
Well, what are we here to talk about some hypothetical assault?
No, we're not here to talk about
99% of Americans never even encounter a violent crime.
We're not here to talk about
hypothetical machismo thing is like nonsense.
We're not here to talk about hypothetical assaults. We're here to talk about the hypothetical paradigms and ideas around masculinity, because you started this conversation saying that the patriarchy and capitalism and all this bullshit. And I'm sitting here saying to you, live in a very soft society. You're completely correct. 99%
incorrect.
We live in a soft
Incorrect.
society. If you were the same
Incorrect.
person in most places on the planet, you would have had your ass beat because you are a
Dude,
weakling. And weaklings are
I've-
not respected. Let me tell you
I've-
something, my friend, I'll let you talk afterwards. Never in
All right.
human history, in any single civilization, in any single empire across the history of Earth, have men been celebrated for their weakness. Ever once. It doesn't matter if you were an Aztec or the Mao dynasty from China all the way to South America. In every single history book you can read, men who were respected and men who had stories written about them were written about them because they were strong. Weak men have never been respected. Weak men have never mattered. For you to come along and say, I think it's okay to be weak is fine. That is your initiative. That is your decision. But the reason you have done that is because you lack brave. You lack balls.
No,
you lack bravery.
Lack balls, dude. I have more balls than you'll ever have, boss. Because you're changing the goalpost here. Because you're the one who's sitting here calling emotional strength and emotional vulnerability. You're defining it as weakness, but it's not.
All forms of strength are important. You're saying
It's
that?
not.
Yes, it is. Physical strength is just as important as emotional strength.
Emotional strength is actually more powerful than physical strength. Because
Okay.
the fact of the matter is, no matter how physically strong you are, somebody bigger could come along and beat your ass. But it's emotional strength that helps you survive the ass beating.
You're right.
Not
You're
physical strength.
You
I
know
know
what?
I'm right.
You're right. That's a good point. You're saying so when someone comes along to assault you, you won't call the police afterwards and you won't fight back. You'll lay in a ball, you get an ass kicking, but you're emotionally strong enough to just deal with the fact that you got an ass whoop in front of everyone.
No,
you're
but
weak. And that's fine. And everyone should be like you. And that, you know what we call,
I'm not saying
people
everyone
like
should
you
be
are called
like
in
you.
most places in the world. People like you are called in most places in the world. They're called victims.
We're
You're called prey.
studs.
You're a prey.
We're called studs.
And let me tell you something. When I inspire men to grow up and be their biggest, strongest version of themselves, emotionally, mentally, physically, in every single realm, that is not a negative thing. There's nothing wrong with a man being big and strong.